How do you define consciousness?
Why don't you ask me an easy question?
No way.
How do I define it? I wouldn't attempt it. I really wouldn't attempt it.
Well, define it to a 10th grader.
Well, you could say, it's awareness, and then you've got to bring in, well, okay, awareness typically is of something, so now we've got two parts, and now we're looking at something like the Tao, right?
The yin yang.
Yeah, the yin yang symbol. This gets profoundly paradoxical. I can't cite the stuff for you, but I've read recently, I think Daniel Dennett and somebody else have written some interesting things about kinds of consciousness in the brain. And there are different kinds.
Do you mean brain waves like delta, theta, beta, or something other than that?
I read a lot. I'm 75 years old, and I'm not real good at pulling up the references unless I have time to go and look. So I hope you could allow me that.
Sure. So what do you, at this point, how do you think about God? Do you think that's a useful concept or not?
I'm an animist. I believe that I look out of my senses and I'm seeing God's fingers. God's in everything. God's not a guy or a gal. God's the whole thing. There isn't any real duality between spirit and flesh, between matter and spirit. These are hard things to talk about. That which is divine, the divine, I call it the God energy or something. I'm looking out of my senses. As far as I'm concerned, I'm looking at the God energy presenting itself to me in a conversation that's going on between my little monad, my little, I'm a little image of it, and then there's the big one out there, and the two of us are interacting, but we're both, we're both forms of consciousness. My cars are alive.
They are?
They help me. Everything around me is alive. That's shamanism. Everything, my teachers would say everything has a spirit. There's all sorts of different ways to. But again, we're stuck with the language because we have to say everything. And once we say thing, that means it's a dead lump, right? It's just lumps bumping. That's all. That's all that's happening. Lumps bumping, the big universe lumps bumping, we mean nothing in it because we're so small and it's so big. And that is a false perspective. If we are one of the highest forms of consciousness that we know of, then no, we have profound central place in what's going on because we are co-creating this whole dance here. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. When you've worked with shamans and done healing work yourself, does the healing happen with the help of a power animal or a spirit guide or an ancestor? What's the process of doing an emotional or physical healing for someone?
Well, first of all, I have a lot of tools. Some of them are shamanic, some of them are, EFT and tapping tools, coaching tools. All healing, in my opinion, involves another person, myself, and spirit with capital S. And I'm a midwife. I am trying to figure out, every one of these people that I work with is a big mystery. That's part of why it's interesting. It's totally fascinating because everybody is so profoundly different, and what helps one person put themselves back together, because trauma dismembers people physically and mentally. It cuts off parts of them from other parts of them. And so you're trying to help put them back together. And you're midwifing a kind of birth process. So you don't, to say, I heal you, nah, I don't do that. Do you understand me in the clearest sense?
Oh, yeah, I agree.
I do a bunch of things, and I hopefully help your organism, which includes, again, or higher organism of the family that you belong to, and in some cases the higher organism of the race that you belong to, put itself back together in terms of some problem that you want to solve. If that makes sense.
Right.
And and insofar as I use shamanic tools, which I do with some people, then yes, there may be a power animal involved. I have I'm very close to certain animals. I have certain whatever you call it. I'm a linguist, so I speak a lot of different languages to people. But I have my helping spirits. I have my middle name is Cougar. My native medicine name is Cougar. That's my main totem. And is that, what is it? It's an archetype, if you ask me. It's the whole species. It's the archetype of that species in its relationship to the world around us, right? And it might involve some particular physical cougar at some point, but it's that larger, I don't know, archetype is the best word. And so, yeah, I'll use those at times, but with people who don't want to do that, I don't use it. Do you understand me? I mean,
do you have any of your ancestors that help you?
Yes.
Do the ancestors of the people that you're working with to help heal ever come in?
Well, since I do family constellation work, that's a big part of it.
Yeah,
there's two kinds of trauma. There's the kind you experience yourself, and then there's the kind that you inherit. And you inherit it when it has not, there's been either no chance or no willingness to deal with it in an ancestor someplace. And it's big enough and important enough that it affected the whole family. Then it passes down. Your question in the notes about load balancing, right? Do you remember that one? If you've got a website being hit by too many people, there will be an array of, say, 5 servers. And when one server gets overloaded, it'll kick those hits off to the next one. And when that's load balancing. So they'll all be sharing the load. And the family system or family soul is capable of pushing stuff downstream that it can't deal with. So we've got people in the Holocaust or something like this, and there's no chance for them to resolve what happened to them before they die. But they have ancestors, and they have this collective called the Jewish religion and the Jewish race. And these are real psychologically energetic and psychic organisms. I mean, they exist, and I'm going on a bit here, but I mean, one of the biggest problems we have in our culture right now is we don't understand that we are hardwired to form collectives. We form collective intelligences that are subconscious. We're networked. Everybody in the family is networked, and there's a subconscious stuff going on that is a larger organism that has a job to do. Its job is to pass life with love down through the generations. And it has, the way that it tries to do it is maximize harmonious inclusion and so on, various characteristics. It's real.
It's like Jung's collective conscious, only it's narrowed down to a family.
Yeah.